here are some guys that are going to try to carve out some space for themselves in the NFL. 8 players, Jake, being invited to the NFL Combine. Unfortunately, no real NFL Combine, which I don't know. What did you think on the Combine? Like, was it worth it? Was it crazy? Did it work out for you?
So for me, it was worth it.
Okay.
And it's probably not going to be a big surprise, but I needed to impress them in the meeting rooms. I needed to impress them in a different way. Like the cone drills. Like I knew that was a strength of mine. Like I needed to impress them in that way. Like there was things that I had to do at the Combine to help me get drafted. Like me being on the whiteboard was going to be a strength of mine.
Yeah, you wanted the meetings. You wanted the endless meetings that they would put you through.
Me being a 4.6 was not going to impress them enough. Okay, I needed to go out there and do the things that I was best at, which was getting on the board, drawing up my favorite plays, drawing up protections, having that interaction with the head coaches who are trying to get you hot and bothered. They're trying to get you off of your game and then put you on the board. I've told the story many times on the afternoon show. The Detroit Lions, the first question they asked me was, have you ever cheated on your wife?
Damn.
That was the first question out of the gate. They asked me that question. I almost punched them.
At least give me some wine first.
That's
Detroit.
the question they asked me. So they're trying to get you bothered. And it was questions like that over and over again, like just to try to get you off of your mark. And then they get you on the board. Like they try to get
the Lions get in trouble for asking crazy questions too? Was it them specifically?
One team did get in trouble. I'm not sure. It might have been the Falcons.
Well, that's okay. That's fine though. So,
almost every team was doing it, right?
So how do you think that translates to a pro day where you don't have a combine, and now these 8 names that we're about to mention, they'll just be working out at LSU?
I don't think that it helps the guys that would really do well on the board, like in these meetings, and they get to see your personality, see how much football you actually know, not what your memorization. Anybody can remember football plays for a short period of time, but how much do you truly understand the game? Because when you're playing NFL football compared to college football, I just said NFL football, it's a pet peeve of mine. NFL is football. So it's completely different, right? Because there's so many things that they want you to know pre-snap wise. They want you to be able to read the defense. No matter what position you're playing, they want you to understand fronts, coverages, blitzes, all of it, okay? In college football, you can memorize your playbook and be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And the coaches have to work around you because the roster's all they have to work with. In the NFL, there's always somebody who's basically as athletic as you.
So in this setting, you can't show how much you know, okay? So now you're talking about just the on-the-field drills. And so that part of it. Now this list, out of a lot of these people, they're going to crush it. They're going to crush all of these drills.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I actually don't know if I'm seeing anyone that I think would be a big, that would need the board necessarily. These guys are going to need the physicality
now, I
more
do
than
think Jacoby Stevens could go and blow them away with his football knowledge. The guy's played literally every position, I think, outside of quarterback and on the lines at LSU. I mean, he's played receiver, he's played H-back, he's played linebacker, safety. Heck, he's been an edge rusher, right? So he could probably help himself, but he's a physical freak as well, and he'll do fine in that aspect of it. But
and he's had a good offseason thus far. He had a good Senior Bowl.
He did.
He
played strictly linebacker.
Yeah, he was one of the standouts at the Senior Bowl.
So, and a guy like Kerry Vincent's going to roll out of bed and run probably a 4.3. Like, okay, so like on the field, like all of these guys, Racing McMath, same way, Terrace Marshall. So it's actually a pretty good group not to have the meetings and it be something where you try to use it as a strength. Now, of all these names, the one that I'm intrigued by probably the most to see where he's at because we have not seen a thing from him is Tyler Shelvin.
I was just going to ask you about Shelvin. I didn't know if real quick on the names. It's Torrey Carter, Jamar Chase, Jabril Cox, Terrace Marshall, Racing McMath, Jacoby Stevens, Kerry Vince Jr., and Tyler Shelvin. Have you heard anything on Tyler Shelvin in terms of I didn't know if you'd gotten anything through the grapevine about what he's been up to. Obviously, when he opted out. If we're just being honest, a lot of people maybe thought that's because he didn't want to go to the grind of another season. I don't know if that's fair to put on him or not. It's probably unfair. But he has a day like this pro day will be his golden opportunity to prove that was not actually the case if he shows up in great shape and kicks ass.
Yeah, it's just we have not heard from him. And, fair or unfair, everyone's going to ask the question because – his weight did fluctuate when he was at LSU, so they're going to ask that question, okay? How much do you weigh? What have you been doing since you've been away from LSU football? What have you done without the structure of a Tommy Moffitt program and having a nutritionist and having the dining hall? All those questions, okay? So there's going to be a lot of eyeballs because remember when he first opted out, he was talked about as a first-round player.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at Moxie, he's nowhere to be found in that first round. Okay, so
where is he kind of being found right now?
I've seen a lot of the end of the second round, third round.
Okay.
Now that's not to say that's not to say
it's still
that
to show you the natural kind of talent base there, right? That even with the red flags and skipping a season, I mean, round 2 and 3, that's still damn good.
No, it is. But he could potentially, if he shows up and he's in, 325 and he just looks rocked up, and I don't know if he can get to 325, but I'm just giving you an example.
350.
Yeah, okay. And he shows up and he, blows everyone away, then quickly he can get back in that conversation of being at the end of the first round. So of all of the names on here, he's probably the most intriguing because I fully expect Jamar Chase and Jabril Cox and Terrace Marshall and Racey McMath, like all these names, to be able to go out there and wow everyone on the field.
I feel like Racey McMath is going to be the next, James Wright,
Russell Shepard,
Russell Gage, who's obviously having a hell of an NFL career right now, really just continues to develop with Atlanta. Like the NFL has been littered with LSU receivers that never quite reached their full potential in college and then go to the NFL and end up actually having more successful careers on that level of football. I mean, Russell Shepard ended up becoming a captain of an NFL team. And played for, I think, 8 years or maybe 9 or something when it was all said and done. So, yeah, I feel like Racey, especially because he's such a physical specimen, I feel like he'll get some value. Somebody's going to get huge value late in the game for Racey McMath. Shout out to Torrey Carter getting invited to the Combine. I think it's huge for him. But how about Jamar Chase? I mean, speaking of guys that have kind of been out of sight and out of mind, it's who would have guessed that – after that incredible national championship run, especially the game where Jamar Chase basically won you the national championship, that was the last time that we were going to see him in an LSU uniform. And really, we didn't discuss him at all this last year because why would we? We were just some of the guys who were there.
Yeah, and when you look at last year's draft, it was basically Jamar Chase highlight film.
Yeah.
Every corner that got selected was getting beat by Jamar Chase.
Yeah, like when they were showing the negatives, right? They start with the positive highlights, and then when they would go to a negative highlight,
it was all Jamar Chase.
And it was like first rounders. Yeah.
And so everyone realizes what skill set he has. And if you've seen the videos, you've seen the pictures, he has been doing his work. He looks like he's in fantastic shape. In fact, he looks like he's even bigger than the last time we saw him in an LSU uniform. He is going to be dominant in the NFL. I just think he is so strong. He is so smooth. There's not a lot that he can't do, and he can overpower almost any corner out there.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see him match up with guys like Jalen Ramsey, those big physical corners, just to see that battle of what it's going to be like.
Does Justin Jefferson's success help raise his stock at all?
Absolutely it does.
You think?
Absolutely it does, yes. I mean, they saw what they were doing together, and and
Jamar was viewed as the clear number one, and Justin Jefferson just went for 1,400 yards as a rookie.
Set a lot of rookie records.
Yeah.
And not to say that Jets is not a number one. I mean, I think it was like 1A and 1B, and they kind of rotated that position. But, yeah, being that Jamar had that success because he's kept himself in great shape. And remember, Jets, the question was, could he run a fast time? It's like, hey, when you have the nickname Jets, like what are we asking? And then Jamar's going to go out there, probably do the same thing. So, yeah, he's going to be a top 5 pick. So
he'll be the first receiver taken off the board over Devontae Smith?
I think he will be. Talking to some NFL guys, talking to scouts, they love Devontae Smith's game, but can he hold up? Like, can he withstand the NFL pounding with his frame? Not to say that you shouldn't draft a guy because of his weight, but Jamar Chase is more built for the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Devontae Smith's still dealing with the same kind of, things that he's been dealing with his entire life. Other names on here, I hope Jabril Cox gets drafted as high as possible. I still kind of feel for him. He just happened to get really unlucky with the year that he decided to transfer to LSU. Like, I think if he would have even gone this year, it would have been much better for him. But I think people kind of realize that. He had another great Senior Bowl week as well. Terrace Marshall. Top 3 rounds in Terrace Marshall?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Terrace is talked about right now at the end of the first round, early second round.
Okay,
yeah.
There you go.
And obviously he's a guy as well because of his size. They want to see what his 40 time's going to look like. And, he's had 3-4 months to work on that.
Yeah, he needs to take advantage of this because that was one of the big justification points for me as to why it kind of makes sense for him to leave when he did was so that he would not waste any time in getting ready for pro day, the drills, everything else. So hopefully he takes advantage. And then Jacoby Stevens and Kerry Vincent Jr., we'll see where they end up going. All right, when we get back, Space Talk before we get to Pat Bradley coming up at 9:30. Keep it locked right here on OTVOT.